What's up, everybody?
My name is Anthony Irvin.
You beat yourself?
Yeah,
okay. CB myself.
Yeah. Okay.
I'm Jim Green.
Don't even need a hit of traffic light.
Okay, good.
Welcome to
One Set.
What's up, everybody? Welcome back to a brand new episode of the One Set Podcast. My name is Anthony Irvin. I'm here with my best friend, Jim Green. What's going on, brother?
Wow. What a weekend. I know you had a busy weekend as well. Yeah. My company, Beat Addicts, not my company, but the company that I work for that isn't a dance studio, but it is a company that gathers dancers from all around the tri-state area. They had their annual showcase this past weekend, and everything went really, really well. The dancers looked awesome. Everything seemed super well received by the audience. And yeah, it's a great community. It was their 12th annual show. So it's like they're on that like post 10-year march stride right now. Everything is moving along really good. Got to catch up with some of the other choreographers that I don't always see throughout the year. Because of the way that our schedules work, like sometimes the choreographers just pass each other, and
same thing with musicians,
really
man. We're always playing gigs, and you don't get a chance to, be able to hang out at each other's gigs or go to each other's gigs. It's more like, hey, when we see each other, or like the Delco quarantine, I just got to be able to see, a couple people that I haven't seen all year, but just talking to them online or being able to keep up with them through that thing. So being able to see them and, being able to just, talk to them for a little bit, it's always fun to just meet up, even though like you still keep in touch, but it's always good to see people face to face and, chat for a little bit.
Yeah. So it was a great weekend, and typically after the shows, the choreographers, we don't meet and see each other again really until like December to start preparations for the next season kind of thing. So then September will be just getting back into the swing of like the regular studio routine, which I'm looking forward to. And we have another 3 weeks and change in August, so I am valuing the downtime in the meantime. I do have some comp work that I'll be setting in Maryland in the next few weeks, so just trying to get my creative juices flowing for those. How was Lil Tone's birthday?
Dude, he had a blast. He got pretty much everything that he's been wanting for and asking for. Monster truck galore. The house was decked out in monster truck stuff. So I'll say the one moment that just made me and Jen just like all worth it for, and it wasn't even the start of the weekend. We put one of the pictures up of monster trucks that like Monster Jam and all like the monster trucks on it, and we said, "Ant, come in here, take a look at this." He looked at it, and it's the first time that he actually like expressed like it felt like he expressed like a true feeling. He looked at it, he's like, "Oh my gosh!" And then he like fake fainted, and we're like, "Perfect." That awesome. Made it all perfect for the weekend. And he got like all like the toys that he wanted. There was a couple of things, but I felt so bad because there were a couple things that needed to be charged and he couldn't play with it at that moment. So we're like, I wish we would have known. We would have charged it before so that he could have played it before. And then there was one item that we thought that we bought, and then we never really checked it to make sure everything inside was what it was. So we get to the next morning, we open it up. We wanted this monster truck ramp set, and for anybody that watches or listens knows any monster truck Monster Jam stuff, it's the Thunderosaurus like ramp thing. And so we open it up, and it's a wall shelf unit. So Target sent us the wrong item. So we had to get on the phone and say, hey, we wanted this, but you sent us that. So thankfully they sent it to us in a quick amount of time, and he got it today. We got to, build it up for him, and he got to play with it for a little bit tonight. So he was stoked about that. But I felt bad because the three things that he wanted, the two, one was something that Chris and Christy gave him. They actually gave him a monster truck he can
Okay.
actually ride on, like the Gravedigger monster truck. So he was excited to actually do that. But I had to charge the thing, so he didn't get to do that until the next night, and we got out to do that. But it was all fun. He had a blast, and like I was telling you off air, we did like a inside playground thing on Monday because it was just way too hot to be outside. We were going to take him to like Sesame Place or something, but it was just way too hot to be out there. And kids, they don't care whether it's 1,000 degrees or 2 degrees; they just want to play. So we figured if you can save a kid from being cranky and everything the later in the day, then just if you know how to save it, then you're good. So I think doing the inside playground and letting him run around for a little while, it worked out. So all in all, I think this is his first birthday that he truly knew about and had an emotion about. So it was fun to see that.
That's so cool. I mean,
Yeah.
I've seen pictures of myself from like my third birthday where I got my first bike kind of thing with like training wheels, but I don't particularly remember it.
Yeah.
But and again, don't remember most things before the age of 7 on my end. But not everybody's like that. Like, do you remember before? Like, do you remember turning 4 years old?
The only birthday I remember is only as far back as 5, because I had Donatello come to my birthday party. So that was like the big 90s Ninja Turtles thing. I had Donatello, and then a girl was playing April O'Neil coming back, so it was pretty cool.
I don't think I ever knew that, unless when we had our TMNT group chat, you might have mentioned it in there.
Probably.
And I don't remember that, but that's amazing.
I didn't really have anybody from because 5, I mean, you're in elementary, but I it was just more like family and neighborhood friends at that point. I didn't really have anybody from school or anything, so it was just a very close niche of people that came to the party.
I had like a close friend when I was like 4 and 5, and he lived 2 doors up. We went to school with him. I'll save his name, and you'll probably figure it out if you recall. My childhood house and like who lived like 2 doors up from me. But like other than that, I didn't have like a friend birthday party until I was 7 or 8, maybe.
Right. Yeah.
I think by the time I got to 2nd and 3rd grade, you had friends from school, and I had made friends with other kids in the neighborhood that were like not within like just 3 or 4 houses like around me. There was a part of the neighborhood that was like a couple streets over that I wasn't like allowed to ride my bike to because I was like 6 years old, right? 6 and 7 years old. And I think I went down. I rode my bike down when I was 7, and I got in trouble. I think I got grounded for a week or something because I rode my bike further than I was supposed to.
Yep.
But that part of the neighborhood, a couple streets down, was like where a bunch of the younger new parents were, and so there were way more kids in that corner of the neighborhood, kind of thing. So I was like, hey, I'm all the way up here with like 2 other families with kids total, and then there's like a dozen families with kids on the other corner. So
yeah, my street was pretty spread out, but we had one side of our street that had maybe 3 or 4 kids that were within a considerable range that we all kind of hung out, and then we had the other end of the street where we had a couple other kids that were there, and every once in a while we would mix and go back and forth, but we ended up kind of like most of the time staying like within our quadrants of
Yep.
people. And just like you, like sometimes it'd be like, okay, they'll only go as far as like, until you got older, but only go as far as we can see you and everything.
Right.
But I think we'll probably continue to do like the family parties for a little while until you start bringing friends in, because then you got to think, okay, that's more like more kids that you got to deal with, and more this, more that. So as long as we can, we only have, we have my brother's 2 kids, we have my cousin's 2 kids, so we have a small niche amount of kids that we can have at parties right now, which is enough.
Yeah.
And
Well,
until he starts making some closer friends. I mean, he has some friends at daycare, but sometimes he'll get invited to theirs, and sometimes we'll try to do like little buddy hangout things here and there.
play
But
dates. Yeah.
yeah, things like that. But I think for now we'll probably just continue to do the family things for a little while until he gets to a certain age where like, okay, we can start just doing like some friend stuff here and there along with the family.
Yeah, or a separate party with just the friends. Like we
Yeah,
always did
yeah.
the family party and then the friend
And
party.
then you have your friends, yeah.
Because who wants to do the family and all of the friends at the same time? Like, just
Exactly.
giant shit show, right?
Exactly. Yeah, and I know Jen's family is big on, like, because they do like the whole family party, and some of the kids, like, if it's the main person whose birthday, like especially if it's like a kid, they'll have some of their friends come over, but it's more like the family that's like the family party. But then the actual birthday boy or girl, they'll have a couple of their school friends come over, but it's more for like the family and everybody, like, hey, okay. And but uh when we're growing up, it's more like you kind of separate the friend party from the family party.
Yeah, I think my one close friend from childhood that lived a couple doors up was like at my family parties just because he lived right there, and I was like asking my parents like, hey, can so and so like come over for the party, like just because I wanted another kid my age, because my cousins were all girls, so like I wasn't like tight knit with them. They like the girls were all close with each other to an extent.
Yeah.
So they would hang out, but I was just kind of like, hey, I'm over here by myself.
Right.
So yeah, usually I'd have my one friend from a couple doors up that would be at the family parties. But I'm glad that the birthday party went well. Again, sorry I couldn't be there because I had the shows, and it will likely be an issue because it's gonna wind up like
It always
it's gonna land on the
gets
same
that
weekend. I think like for Little Tone's first birthday, I actually wasn't with the company that year. I went to the show to see Matt dance, but
yeah,
I wasn't with them for that season. And then the next year I was back with the company, but I think you had his second birthday like at the end of July. Like I think you had it like right before August. So I was able to go to was able to go to that one.
Yeah, because my cousin was getting married, I think that one. So we had to work out like, okay, if she was getting married like the beginning of August, so we're like, okay, we'll just move his birthday up a week or two, so that we can go to the wedding then and everything. So that's how how that worked out.
Okay, cool.
But I think you might be getting I think you might be getting another student soon. I showed him your video that you sent me earlier today.
What?
And he's like, I was like, hey, this is Uncle Jim. And he's like, whoa. And I'm like, is Uncle Jim a good dancer? He's like, yeah. And he's like, he started saying like, can I dance with? And he started pointing at you. I'm like, you want to take lessons from Uncle Jim? He's like, yeah. I'm like, I think we can make that work.
No way. And not to say that I never thought that would be a thing, but I know, like, I mean, for me, like, boys that are 3, 4, 5 years old, they're not usually pushed into a dance classroom like that soon.
Right. But he loves, like, like I said, his favorite song right now is "Who Let the Dogs Out" because it's one of the Monster Truck theme songs. So he'll just start, jumping around and doing some like just dancing in his own kid mode and everything, like not a care in the world, and it's just so funny. But then I was showing him like, hey, this is Uncle Jim dancing. He's like, where is he? But he's the one with the hat, and then he had like eyes glued on you. So I'm like, oh, that's awesome. So you might have a future student eventually.
That warms my heart. That warms my heart so much. Again, glad the party went well. And
Yeah.
I'm glad that my shows went as well as they did. And
yeah, same, man. That's good. It's always good to see that your hard work is always paying off. And you were saying that some of your or most of your performances and your routines turned out really well. So that's good.
Yeah, I did say there was one routine that I was specifically a little bit like nervous for, but it pulled through really, really well on stage. So I was happy for that. Me and the staff dancing thing was something that was like really last minute, but I was super happy to get to dance even just for 30 seconds across the 4 shows. That was really, really cool and super fun.
Have you ever wanted to start your podcast but didn't know where to start? The One Set Bros are here to talk to you about Zencastr. Zencastr is the ultimate base podcasting solution and now the all-in-one podcasting platform, making podcasting easy. They've sure made it easy for us to be able to record our podcast and our episodes every week for you guys. Once you've set up your account, you're simply one click away from recording a high-quality podcast with studio-quality sound and up to 4K video with your guests. My personal favorite feature is their multi-layered backups, which ensure our recordings are always in the highest quality, even during unstable web connections. And if you thought you needed multiple tools and services for your podcast, Zencastr's all-in-one podcasting platform allows you to create your podcast all in one place and distribute to Spotify, Apple, and other major destinations. Go to Zencastr.com/pricing and use our code OneSetPod, and you'll get 30% off your first month of any Zencastr paid plan. I want you to have the same easy experiences we do with all our podcasting and content needs. It's time to share your story. Shall we get into some SummerSlam, reactions? We wanted to kind of start off this, 2-part episode we're going to be getting you guys, because we wanted to do SummerSlam and House of the Dragon. So you guys are going to be getting a double episode this week. I'm not sure. I mean, we're kind of in the middle of recording this, so I'm not sure. I doubt we'll probably upload them at the same time. One will be like in the morning, one will be in the early afternoon or something to kind of give them a little bit of space. But, we wanted to be able to give these 2 segments that we both love talking about House of the Dragon. We both love wrestling, and we didn't want to make them a week apart from each other because either one, it would be so far away from it. So we wanted to at least give it some time within the time that it happened. So this will be our first little part 1 of our 2-episode thing for you guys. And so we're going to break down a little bit of SummerSlam 2024 that happened this past Saturday. And, just from an all-in-all stance, I thought the pay-per-view was really good. We had a lot of moments that, in our prediction, we were pretty close with a lot of our predictions. There were 1 or 2 things, or I think the only one that we really had had wrong with CM Punk and Drew McIntyre, I think.
Yeah.
And most of the thing, and our bet actually evened out, so we didn't have to owe each other money, so we're good. So we're both even again, so we're good.
In case you missed it, last week on our prediction episode, the bets were Anthony swore that Dom and Liv were gonna make out, and I was like, yeah, I don't know about that. And Anthony's like, yeah, I'll bet you they definitely do. And then Anthony thought that Roman Reigns was not returning at SummerSlam. He thought that they were gonna save it, and I was like, I can see them saving it, but let's make it interesting. And I said, I'll bet you that Roman Reigns does return, and he in fact did. So both of our bets canceled each other out, which I was excited for, because I was actually at the show, or I'm trying to, because Liv Morgan and Rhea Ripley opened the pay-per-view, right? So
yeah.
Yeah, the show was still going on. And I was backstage and happened to see it on my phone, and I was like, are you kidding me?
And I didn't know if you had seen it yet, so I just gave you like a smile emoji, because I didn't know if you saw it yet or anything. So I just kind of was like,
No, you sent me that smile emoji, and then I went straight to my Instagram and saw it. I was like, fuck, okay.
fuck. Yeah, and for people, call it what you want. Making out, it was just the lips or anything. They kissed, whatever it was. But I knew that situation was going to happen, because you could tell there was resistance on both ends, and even the last couple weeks coming up, they were getting closer and closer to doing it, and something interrupting it. So it was going to happen to make that little moment even more chaotic, because obviously with Ripley being there and seeing that now she was, blowing up on Raw and everything. So I'm actually stoked to see, how the storyline's going to go now,
Yeah,
because you have Dom on the other
and
side.
we'll talk about that more when we get to the Priest and Gunther match, because the whole complexity of the Judgment Day is now
has just pretty much fallen. It's gone all in like a.
It's taken a different turn, and I actually really like what they're doing with it. But we'll get to that. And
it's almost in the same way as how, not in the same way, but it's almost going in the same rate as how the Bloodline's going, is somebody's now retaking it over, and now you have some original people that are left alone, and they're trying to. So it's almost like, Roman Reigns was not necessarily kicked out, but somebody solo took over it. Roman Reigns is trying to going to try to regain his position back, whereas now Damon Priest and Rhea, they're going to try to regain their position.
Yeah. So again, let's get into the Judgment Day stuff after we get through,
right?
And because after we get through these SummerSlam results, we are going to talk about Monday Night Raw, because definitely a lot of things moving around, a lot of parts moving around the Raw right after SummerSlam. That help really set up for not just the next pay-per-view, but really the big picture going into the fall, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
So we have Liv Morgan defeating Rhea Ripley. I like the finish a lot, man, because
the finish was great.
Yeah, they had Rhea Ripley was going to hit Liv with the chair. Dom stops her from hitting her, and everyone's like, "Oh, Dom's interfering." And the way they played it out was, he said, "You can't win the title if you disqualify yourself."
Yeah.
And
Yep.
Even the commentators were like, he makes a very good point here, trying to basically downplay.
You're making sense.
Oh yeah. It makes sense.
It makes sense.
That's just a South Park reference, which I believe is the "You Got Served" episode of South Park. If you've never seen it, you gotta watch it. It's so good.
Right.
That should be a watch along in the next few weeks, because we haven't done.
We haven't done a South Park or a TV show series. Yeah.
In a minute. So we'll have to put that on the list. Anyway, then everything goes down. I think Liv hit the Oblivion once, and Rhea kicked out.
Yeah.
And then the chair was still in the ring, and Dom somehow was distracting the ref on the outside of the ring by the entrance ramp.
I think Dom threw either that existing chair into the ring while talking to Rhea, but actually like disguising it while talking to her. So Rhea never saw the chair going into the ring the second time.
Okay. And
then
the refs saw Dom throw the chair in, and that caused the distraction.
Yeah, and then
Liv hit the Oblivion on the chair.
The ref. Yeah. Liv sees the chair, goes to Rhea, and hits her with the Oblivion. Then pins.
Yeah, and then we got the Dom and Liv make out, and I thought the match overall went really good. And again, we didn't know if we were getting Rhea Ripley back both her and CM Punk were like question marks for SummerSlam,
Mm-hmm.
which I'm glad that they were both able to work the event because those two matches needed to happen at SummerSlam.
Definitely.
I mean, both matches stemming. Um, I mean, the Drew and CM Punk feud has been ongoing since like before SummerSlam, before Mania, right? And but I mean, Mania is where it really started to pick up. That was the whole thing there,
Yeah.
right?
Mm-hmm.
The Liv and Rhea stuff was kind of a thing, um, and then Rhea beat Liv. No, Rhea beat Becky. She retained against Becky at WrestleMania, and then the next night on Raw, I'm pretty sure, is when Liv attacked Rhea, pushed her into the wall,
Yeah.
and then that's when her shoulder got messed up.
Mm-hmm.
So that's all been brewing this whole time since Mania, right? So both of those matches needed to happen. So it was good that they were both cleared to be able to work the event.
Mm-hmm.
Anything else on that match before we move on to the Intercontinental title match?
Pretty much like you said. I mean, there wasn't anything, stellar to say. There wasn't really any like high profile moments of it. Just other than the fact of the ending
The
part.
finish was done
The
really
finish
well.
was good, but I mean, yeah, it was a good match to say the least. So,
Yeah.
so we got Braun Breaker and Sami Zayn. I know we're both on the same level as this. Like we knew Braun Breaker had to win. He comes out with the pinfall clean, and Jim mentioned in the prediction show that the last time these guys faced off, Braun Breaker didn't get one spear in.
Nope.
So they had Breaker getting 2 spears
On
on
Sammy.
Sammy,
Yep.
and that's what did him in. And it was a short match, 5 minutes and 40 seconds. I'm okay with
Yeah,
it.
apparently it was supposed to go longer, and I'm glad it didn't because it was sloppy at times. But
Mm-hmm.
Braun hit the Frankensteiner on the top where he goes, which I love when he does that. It's so good.
Mm-hmm.
I forget who he was facing where he like almost botched it really bad. It might have been Ricochet actually,
Probably.
because I know Braun like wrote Ricochet off of
Mm-hmm.
WWE TV for good. Yeah, I am excited to see what Braun Breaker does with the Intercontinental title. And like you said on Raw, he has been in WWE, including NXT, for like 3 years. So for him to go to the main roster, and I think it was a few months back that he was like going up to Pierce like, I want real competition here. Like he was just kind of there.
Yeah.
So them strapping the IC belt on him, I hope he has a good run with it. But it's also like, I think they trust him as far as in the ring. Super intense, super quick. By the way,
Oh yeah, he's super explosive.
yeah,
Coming off those ropes, it's insane.
yeah, and he's not super like he's not real tall. He's just
Mm-hmm.
really stocky, just like
Yeah.
the Steiner family in general, like Scott Steiner. They're all like jacked in the thick, stocky way, but they're maybe 6 foot tall, maybe 6'1", compared to the rest of them that are like 6'5", 6'6".
Yeah.
Of course, outside of like Finn and JD McDonough and all that.
But yeah, Braun definitely needed to win this. I think we both agree that we did not see Braun coming out of this without a win. And like you said, I hope he holds it for a little while. But if Ricochet is going to resign, I would like to see eventually Ricochet take it off him at some point, maybe along the ways of going back into WrestleMania. The road to WrestleMania, they start doing a feud there, and they get to a WrestleMania match of some sort, if not sooner. But it really depends if Ricochet is going to resign, which I'm not sure at this moment.
Yeah, I don't see it, but
Yeah.
if he doesn't sign with AEW, if he just works as a free agent in like anywhere else, I see if he were to come back to WWE, Braun Breaker's in the Rumble, and then Ricochet's music hits as like the next entrant, and then they just brawl out in the ring. They both eliminate each other, and then that sets up for their match at WrestleMania.
Right.
But I really don't have high hopes or expect Ricochet to be coming back to WWE. I just don't see it.
Yeah. I mean, it's been kind of silent with it, so it doesn't really seem promising that he will resign. But that would be a fan booking moment, to say the least. Of like, hopefully, if that does happen, that would be a nice, match to see down the line of like, either a WrestleMania match if they are going to let Braun ride it all the way to WrestleMania, which I wouldn't be mad about. But I mean, unless there's somebody else that's going to take it off him sooner.
Yeah, it would have to be a babyface, and he hasn't been on the main roster long enough or had any feuds of significance outside of his feud with Sammy for me to feel like there's somebody else lurking in the background that like I can really see them putting the IC title on. And that also goes without saying that Gunther held that title for as long as he did, right? Longest reigning Intercontinental Champion. That I had no idea who was going to beat him. It just so happened to be Sammy at Mania. But then Sammy's run with that title, it just was very, very lackluster, man. So I like the IC title on Braun, and getting into United States Championship match. Logan Paul defending against LA Knight. LA Knight getting the must win. I did read some things, and again, you can't believe everything that you read on the internet, right? But some people were saying Logan Paul was supposed to win, and the feud was supposed to drag on a little bit longer, and then LA Knight was eventually supposed to get the belt. I thought SummerSlam was the perfect opportunity to get the belt off Logan Paul. Apparently, Logan Paul tweeted some comments about, the whole transgender controversy in the Olympics with the women's boxing.
I heard about that too.
So apparently there was some heat on him backstage, and that kind of like helped really put the nail in the coffin on his title reign. But all in all, I just felt like LA Knight had to get that US title.
There was no way that LA couldn't have gone out of that night without getting the belt. And I'll repeat what I said. If LA Knight wasn't going to get that, he was just going to go way back down the totem pole, because he had so much heat going into this within the last year or two even, of just people getting so over to him. He needed a belt. He needed this match. He needed the win. And he got it. So hopefully, just like Braun, hopefully LA Knight can show that he can, be significant with the title, have some good feuds, win some good matches. And hopefully this will spark him up to the next level as well. So, I was happy with the match. I thought the match was good. Logan Paul is a phenomenal athlete, and he'll probably take a couple months off, which is deserving. I don't think he's really had a good time off, other than when he was injured. But to say the least, I think he deserves a good little bit of time off to just get this little, if anything, heat off of him. And then he can come back and, if he does demand a rematch, because they always are accepted for a rematch. I know we're getting Sami Zayn and Braun Breaker next Monday on Raw for a rematch. I don't see the LA Knight and Logan Paul rematch coming anytime soon.
Well, and Logan Paul doesn't wrestle on like regular TV. He only wrestles at the PLEs. So, yeah, I think I'm excited for LA Knight to have the U.S. titles so that we can get some U.S. title defenses on TV. Just
Yeah.
Not a lot, but LA Knight's on TV every week. So
And I think they said for Logan Paul, he won the United States Championship back in November. I think since then he's only really defended it 4 times.
yeah, I think it was because did he?
It was the triple threat at WrestleMania that he
Yeah.
won. It was. Did he defend it at the Rumble?
I think that there were.
He was in the Rumble.
I think there were 2 defenses in the course of like 150 days or something like that. It was like it was pretty dumb in my opinion.
So it wasn't a lot. So hopefully, like you said, we get a lot of title defenses from LA Knight, knowing that he's on TV every week.
Yeah.
So hopefully we get a couple more, TV, you know, title shots, and along with some PLEs. So we'll see. I mean, I'm hoping LA Knight can continue his hype and make the United States Championship, relevant. Not that Logan Paul didn't, but just continue to make its relevance even more.
Well, Logan Paul made it relevant because of his social media popularity, right? Like, so
absolutely.
I think LA Knight will keep it relevant by defending it more frequently, right? Just moving right along here, and you and I, because that was the one match you didn't see Saturday night, and you and I both just watched that back earlier today.
Right.
Because I only caught the end of the Punk and Drew match when I got home from the show Saturday, and then I caught the Solo and Cody match after that, and then I was at the show again Sunday, didn't get back until super late, so I watched the Rhea and Liv match, and then I went to sleep, and then I caught the rest of the show today. So you and I watched that match back, and it was a good match. It was fun. I liked how they played up Logan Paul with the brass knuckles from MGK, and the way that LA was trying to get him from outside of the ring. So Logan only kind of caught him with like a side jab with it. It wasn't a full blown. Yeah. It wasn't a full blown knockout punch with the brass knucks.
Right.
So it just kind of like stump.
It's probably how he was able to kind of counter the turnbuckle, one that he was able to kind of counter that because he didn't get a full blown to the face with the brass.
Exactly. Knuckles. Logan went for the lariat clothesline, and Logan was able to counter it and drop him for the 1-2-3, which I thought that finish was super clean.
It was a good move.
It was super clean. Nia Jax defeats Bayley for the championship. We knew this was coming, right? Like just writing on the wall. If we had to pick one match that was a for sure, definitely happening, Bayley wasn't retaining the title here, okay?
No, and again, they've been really putting a lot of stock into Nia since she's returned. She won the Queen of the Ring, so not that if you win those, you're guaranteed the win, but it just made her even more relevant to be like, hey, we're putting her up the totem pole, and she's gonna probably get the championship within these next couple months. And once she got that title shot, we're like, yeah, she's eventually gonna win that championship whenever they put it on her. So,
just like Sami Zayn with the IC title, Bayley's this run that Bayley had with the title, it was just very meh. I was like, okay, get it off of her. It's not doing anything for us, right? So,
and you saw, I mean, I don't really watch SmackDown that much unless there's like time for me to watch it or if there's something specific I want to watch there. So, but for the meaning of it, I remember more of Sammy's title reign than Bayley's title reign since WrestleMania, because I feel like she hasn't really been on TV. But then again, if she has, it's been on SmackDown, and I haven't really watched it. But there hasn't been anything with her reign that's maybe be like, oh, okay, well, let me just catch her match or something, or what she's doing since she's gotten the title.
Right.
So there really hasn't been any like spark of like, oh, she's actually having a really good, reign. It's crazy to think that she was the the face of the thing during the
Pandemic.
coronavirus,
Yep.
and she was doing so good. But then with this, and there's fans there, it was a total 180.
Well, and to be fair, also we need to consider the fact that Bailey is a better heel than she is a babyface for whatever reason. Because coming up through NXT, she was like the top babyface. She was like the cute innocent girl, like a bunch of the younger girls that were in attendance were like, oh my god, Bailey's my favorite. Like, so it definitely catered to that market. And then when she was a heel, she's just a nasty Karen, bro.
Yeah.
So,
which she did really well. I will agree. I think she can play both sides well, but I think she did the heel a lot better.
Yeah.
She got into it a lot more, and you can tell that I think she had a lot of fun with the heel Bailey character.
Yeah. Like you had said before we started recording, the notable spot here was Nia on the second rope in the turnbuckle and Bailey lifting her up and powerbombing her.
Yeah.
We were watching that match back because it was right after watching the
Logan Paul and LA Knight. Yeah.
And I was just like, F, that was crazy, right?
Yeah. Definitely the most notable and memorable spot of the match, but everything else was just again meh. But there wasn't anything like crazy.
We got Miss Money in the Bank, Tiffy, right?
Tiffy, yeah. It's Tiffy time.
Yeah.
She came in, someone down, then Bailey just punched her in the face like, oh god, I forfeit.
Yeah, because she teased the cash in, right? So it was very like, oh, is she encroaching on like Nia's title shot here, or was she gonna cash in just to help? Not like, definitely not, but
or make it a
triple threat. Yeah,
but I was like, all right, well, again, my thing was we're gonna have the Liv Morgan and Dom thing. We're gonna have the possible Roman thing or something happen with CM Punk. And my other thing was, with the Tiff and Nia, I'm like, but this is where they can probably halt it, because they probably could do it two ways of she can cash it in and beat Nia when she's down, or they can have her come out, but she never cashes it in and makes it seem like she is, and then she's safe from that. And that's the way that they went. She came out, but she never got to cash it in. She still has the Money in the Bank. And she'll, like you said, I think she's going to keep it for a little while.
Yeah, once Drew cashed in his briefcase at Money in the Bank that night, and everyone's like, oh my god, he wasted it. I was like, that just means Liv Morgan is holding her briefcase for a while. Like, they're not going to exhaust that cash in anytime soon. Which I think is really nice, because they have the men and women's Money in the Bank at this point, because back before they had the women's Money in the Bank, and you had Dean Ambrose cash in his Money in the Bank the same night that he won it, there was no briefcase for that next year.
Exactly.
No briefcase at all on TV, and people were bummed, and I was one of them. I was like, you don't get the lore of the briefcase, of the when are they going to cash in,
exactly,
which is just such a fun element to have.
Yeah, it's always good. So it'll be fun, and hopefully they can continue to like tease the Nia and Tiffany thing, that she has the Money in the Bank. I can cash it in on you whenever I want, or I can go to somebody else. But it'll be cool to kind of see if they start teasing that a little bit, and see if that'll affect their little alliance going on, or if she's just gonna eventually do it on somebody else. But
I mean, when Nia won and was holding the title up, and Tiffy was in the ring with her, she was definitely eyeballing the title. She was definitely
looking at it. Yep, I saw that too, and I'm like, all right,
that's definitely where that's headed.
I see you.
Yeah. Let's move along here. We have Drew McIntyre defeating CM Punk with Seth freaking Rollins as the special guest referee. I thought the match, again, just like pretty much all of the matches on the card, the match told the story more than it was about a solid wrestling match here, right?
Mm-hmm.
And you had all of the heat with Punk and Rollins built into the match, which really started to pan out on Raw the next night, right? And
I was gonna say this kind of began the possible feud between CM Punk and Rollins at this point.
yeah, and it
But then again, it looks like they're, from what Ross was going off, looks like CM Punk and Drew are still doing something, because then we got
Bronson
Bronson Reed attacking Seth. So it looks like they're going to still do another segue and spread them out a little bit and still slow roll that feud a little bit, because obviously he's gonna have to answer to Bronson Reed now. So
and they're doing that because they wanted to tease the Rollins and Punk match at Mania,
yeah,
but you're not going to draw it out for 8-9 months because Mania is in May now next year.
yeah,
So
I could probably see them doing a triple threat at some point: Drew, Punk, and Seth, if that's the way that they want to go with it at this point, and then going to the CM Punk and Seth Rollins, because obviously the three of them have some type of thing with complications with all three of them. Rollins has something with CM Punk more than Drew, but he has a little bit with Drew, and it's Drew has the same thing. Like, he has more complications with CM Punk, but has a little bit with Drew, where I think they all have a little bit on each side. So you can do probably a triple threat, but there's really no point of a triple threat because there's no stipulation to it. But not that you need one.
well, the whole thing here is the three of them have been so heavily involved with each other that
Yep.
that it's like, okay, you needed to break one of them out and you needed to create another feud on the side, which is what they did with Bronson Reed, and I am here for it because I'm a fan of the guy, and I think that they've just been like, we don't know what to do with him. I'm loving the direction that's going, because if anyone is going to make Bronson Reed elevated and look great, it's Seth Rollins, because he is the best company guy to help either make future stars because of his in-ring ability. He knows how to work with everybody. He's like Shawn Michaels. He can work with anybody of any size.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter if you're Rey Mysterio or if you're Brock Lesnar or Bronson Reed in this case, right?
Yeah.
So yeah, I thought the match overall was a lot of really good storytelling, which is what the feud has been, more than it's been about wrestling and beating each other down. Punk's first singles match on TV in over 10 years. And yeah, he does look a little rusty. He just came off injury. So I'm hoping that while they're going to have him limited in the ring, that he can keep himself healthy and work on running the ropes and just keep himself fine-tuned in that respect, right? If we wind up going towards Seth Rollins and CM Punk, it's just a matter of you have to have Drew McIntyre involved with someone else, and it's getting Drew McIntyre removed from the Punk storyline somehow.
Right.
How that happens, time will tell, right?
And I thought that's how they were going to resolve it, of, Drew going away from it, but he took the bracelet with him. So I'm like, all right, he's still involved in this thing. So they're still going to, have this drawn out for at least another X amount of time. But
Drew McIntyre's CM Punk Hell in a Cell at Bad Blood is like, that's writing on the wall for me. I don't see it any other way. And if they use the Hell in a Cell at Bad Blood to like wrap up that feud for good, CM Punk wins that match because Drew won the SummerSlam match, kind of thing. Yeah. Maybe they have a match in Berlin, or maybe they wait until, I don't know if they're doing a September pay-per-view. I would assume probably.
Yeah, maybe. I'm just not sure which one yet.
Yeah, I just know Berlin is at the end of August, and Bad Blood is the first weekend in October.
Yeah, so they very well could just skip September and go right in the Bad Blood.
Yeah, because they're going to do their season premiere which never makes sense because the show runs every week of the
Yeah.
year. So, at any rate, yeah, they could just use September to build storylines towards the Bad Blood pay-per-view, which I would be fine with.
For sure.
Let's move on to Gunther defeating Damian Priest. I think you and I both agreed that the match was very like I
Yeah.
thought it was. It's been really interesting because they did this face turn for Damian Priest. It was like a slow turn, but I just Gunther in a match, you expect there to be intensity from both parties, and I just didn't.
I expected a little more out of Gunther in the
Yeah,
match, but
I didn't feel that great in ring chemistry from the two of them as far as wrestling goes, right?
yeah, even the so I think we were saying even the promos just didn't catch on, didn't really make you invested too much. But you're like, all right, I mean, it's gonna happen, but I'm gonna watch it, but I'm not invested in it. Like if I were to have missed the match, I would have probably just watched it again just for the sake of us doing the recap. But I definitely would have been like, oh, I gotta catch that because I gotta see what happened. The only reason that would have made me obviously do it was because of the fact that Finn Balor turned on Damien. So I would have wanted to see how that played out. And I liked how they didn't give it away before the match. Finn was, in the way saying like, "Hey, if you need my help, I'm right here. Go get him, champ." They didn't like have him do any, you know, sly, side eye type of things. They just let him act like everything's okay until he came out to the match, and then costing Damon that pin with Gunther, and then he finds out on the Titantron that Finn did that, and then they cut the Finn, and he's looking at Damon. So it was a good shot, and then when it came to Raw, then you got to be able to see Finn and Damon's promo together, and I loved the shot of Finn and then having Carlito, JD, Liv, and Dom in the back, because it, like they were saying, it almost felt like a Bullet Club type of thing.
Yeah.
So I saw about that. I'm like, all right, I can get behind that. It was almost like a Bullet Club shot. So now that Finn is like part of the Bloodline Part 2, I guess you can say there's two. No, not Bloodline, Judgment Day. Part 2. So it's, I guess I'm getting mixed up because Bloodline's kind of doing the same thing, but there's two. There's a cut between who's running the Judgment Day now, and obviously it's Finn because they're kicking Damon out and Rhea out. So it's, I think we said earlier, it's going to be interesting how they continue to do that. Obviously, there's going to be some matches within there, and obviously we're going to get Rhea and Liv doing a lot of things. But it'll be interesting how they continue that little feud that they're doing within that inner circle of the Judgment Day now too, because they definitely needed something to shake up within that, because they had already broken up the Bloodline. So it was a matter of time before they were going to punch the clock on, cracking up the Judgment Day and giving them some new fire to keep that whole thing going too. Because those are if I'm not being correct, please correct me. The Bloodline and the Judgment Day are the two biggest factions in WWE right now.
I mean, that's hard to argue, because when you look at the Judgment Day, the Judgment Day was established after WrestleMania 38 when Damian Priest was outside the ring when Edge was facing AJ Styles at Mania 38. So yeah. Damian Priest was on the outside, and then the next night on Raw, it was Edge and Damian were a thing, and then down the line, I think Rhea Ripley came in within a month or two, and then the three of them were the Judgment Day, and then they were trying to get Finn Balor in, and he wasn't about it, and then all of a sudden he was the new member of Judgment Day, and
And then they turned on
and then
Edge,
and then Damian turned on Edge, and then it's set up for Edge versus Finn Balor Hell in a Cell at Mania 39, right? So then, it was. I think it was definitely the three of them, and then Dominic turned on Ray, and then Dominic joined the Judgment Day.
Yeah.
And then it was really the four of them for
a good amount of time.
A good year. So now that they have Damian Priest written out, obviously Rhea's out and Liv is in. And JD McDonough and Carlito were like just the honorary members of the Judgment Day.
Yeah.
But yeah, like you were saying, I really liked how they had the zoomed in clip of Finn, and then it panned out, and then you had like the new Judgment Day that it is now.
Yeah, I was pretty stoked on that. I was happy to see that. That was cool.
And I do like how Priest and Rhea Ripley are still a thing together, because they were both essentially ousted from the Judgment Day at the same time, right?
And you can kind of see that was gonna be the way it was gonna work, because Priest kept on telling Dom about Liv, like, hey, Rhea's gonna be pissed about all this stuff, so you better get this stuff figured out before she finds out. So you knew Dame was always on Rhea's side, so whenever this was gonna go, somehow Rhea and Damian Priest were gonna be linked up somehow at the end.
And they definitely used Rhea's return as and Damian telling Dom to like chill out with the Liv stuff. They used that to do the slow face turn for Damian, and it worked. I mean, there was no one specific thing that made everyone go, "Oh my god, we love Damian Priest now," right? It was literally just him being on Rhea's side, and everybody. We all knew when Rhea came back, she was going to be super over, right? I mean, she was already over.
No
she
doubt.
was already over as a heel. So her going out on an injury when she came back, we all knew she was going to be a super baby face. And
I honestly did not think it was going to be this soon with everything too. I definitely thought it was going to be up until the fall that she was probably not coming back till. So, I mean, they probably didn't think it was as bad of an injury as they probably thought. So,
yeah. So I'm actually really stoked with how the Judgment Day is pivoting, and I think before it was any other factions. Before it was, as soon as there was like dissension and tension and people were turning, like the whole faction would just kind of like implode and be done. The fact that they've been able to transition, and the Judgment Day has been able to go through these phases.
I like it.
It's really cool, and I think the bloodline stuff for me was really like, okay, Roman lost, Solo stepped in, and Solo just like they just dumped a whole bunch of Samoans in there, and they're like, okay, here's the new bloodline, right?
And at first, I really wasn't into it, because I'm like, all right, it's just a new bloodline with new people. It's not the same thing. How is this gonna get over? Until you kind of obviously know that Roman Reigns is gonna come back. But once they kicked Paul Heyman out, because obviously he was not gonna bow down to Sikoa, so Paul Heyman's eventually going to come back on Roman's side, and this is going to tie into The Rock being on Sikoa's side, and that's going to be really good too once that starts kicking off. And I think we're both hoping that we get a War Games between these two.
Yeah, I don't see The Rock in the War Games match, because he doesn't need to be, and he can't be getting injured before Mania anyway. Like, just save The Rock for WrestleMania.
They're definitely going to save him and not have him doing too many matches, because if they're trying to make sure that he's in Vegas at WrestleMania, they're going to limit the amount of times that he's in that ring.
Yeah, and really, you've got enough people to work with there.
Oh yeah.
I think I didn't love the idea of Sammy being involved in that, but with Jay and Sammy being like boys backstage on Raw, it kind of makes sense that it's going to go that direction, right?
Mm-hmm.
So and again, I texted you this. I was like, I'm really curious to see how they work Jimmy back in.
Yeah,
That's
that'll be interesting. I don't know how right now, but from what I feel, it's definitely gonna have to be like one of those out of nowhere moments that somehow Jimmy helps Jay in some way, and there's going to be some resentment towards it at first, and then they come to a point where like, okay, we're back together.
right.
Because I think Jay is going to be the point like, hey, you're the one who left me, but hey, just because you probably helped me either in like some type of match or some type of he gets like jumped by some type of thing, and Jimmy comes to help him. It's going to take a couple times for Jay to get back on Jimmy's side, but how they feel to help Roman, that'll be the other thing, how they pin that on that too.
Well,
Because they can get themselves back together, but they both left the bloodline on the same reasons, I feel. So it's like, okay, unless they felt something bad about Sokoa before they left, that can be the reason they go back to Roman.
right. And
Because they're all going to obviously be on the same terms. Like they don't like Sokoa at this point.
so I think the biggest thing as far as the new bloodline, the biggest factor here is Jacob Fatu, right? The dude is an absolute unit, right? A, a beast, like literally. So once he came in and then they took out Heyman, it was like, okay, this is getting good now. Because when it was just Solo and Tamatanga and Tangaloa, I was like, yeah, these guys don't really pose a threat. But then you add add Jacob Fatu into the equation, and it's like, okay.
Once he debuted, I was like, all right, this is getting serious.
Yeah. So I think inevitably there's going to be a 4-on-1 beatdown on Roman Reigns, whether it happens tonight on SmackDown once this airs, or if they hold off and it's like next week, maybe Roman just happens to like get out of Dodge. He's not really one to run away, so I think we'll just take the beating, and that'll write Roman off again. I don't know. We'll see.
It'll be interesting, but again, now that Roman is going to return to SmackDown tonight, I will be watching because it's something I want to see. What his intentions are. We all know the intention, but how it's going to
unfold,
be unfolding, I want to know.
Yep.
So, but before we get into the Cody Rhodes and Sokoa match, let's take about 5 minutes to just give the fact that Gunther won the match, and I'm pretty stoked to see Gunther and Randy at Bash of Berlin. That's going to be a good
totally match. Was not expecting that. I also said
did not either.
I also was very much like, okay, they might have Priest somehow retain with a DQ finish, and then Gunther wins the belt in Berlin. And I'm sure they like kicked around that idea, but I think that creating the shift in the Judgment Day was priority. So they were like, okay, let's do the Finn heel turn at SummerSlam so that can all start moving. Perhaps because they were going to Berlin and they were like, okay, we want Gunther to have his first title defense be a legitimate title defense. And I don't know how they got Randy Orton from SmackDown to Raw because of the draft, but it seems like the draft is just being it's very much on loose terms where they tried to stick to it before. So I don't think anybody was expecting Randy Orton to come out and challenge Gunther. But
I definitely did.
You and I are both.
I knew somebody was going to come out, but I didn't expect Randy.
Yeah, you and I are both here for it. I am excited to see that because again, they were the final two in the King of the Ring match, and
And that was part of the promo.
and that was part of the promo. Yeah, and Randy saying, "We both know my shoulders weren't actually down, is what it is, but let's do this." And I was like, yeah, let's fucking go, right?
Let's do it again. Let's do it again.
We're gonna do it again.
Gonna do it again. Yeah. So with that, rounding out SummerSlam, we had the Cody Rhodes and Solo Sikoa match. We obviously knew Cody was going to win this. In a way, he's going to be losing anytime soon.
Well, the fact that they made the match Bloodline Rules on SmackDown, I was like, okay, so we're getting all of the tomfoolery here with everybody getting involved.
Which at this point, Bloodline Rules, they've only won one Bloodline Rules match, right? And that was the first night of the first night of WrestleMania.
No. That match wasn't Bloodline Rules.
That wasn't?
No, it was if The Rock and Roman won the tag match, then Roman versus Cody was Bloodline Rules.
Okay. Maybe I was getting that confused then. Okay, so I thought they had Bloodline Rules attached to the fact that, you know, they still had to win the match, but for the next night. But I thought they had simulated that Bloodline Rules on that Saturday as well. So they didn't. Mm-hmm. Okay.
Yeah.
So it was either Bloodline Rules or the Cody thing. Okay.
Cody Rhodes in the press conference after SummerSlam said, there have been 2 Bloodline Rules matches and I've won both of them. So
yeah. So that's my point. Like when you say Bloodline Rules, I'm like, they've kind of not really had much of an effect on saying Bloodline Rules. So, it just gives the fact that you know the whole bloodline's going to come out and do something.
Yep.
So you know that's the only thing that's guaranteed with it, but it's not a guarantee that they're going to win because they're obviously 0-2 in that type of stipulation.
Yeah, so it would be silly to, like, invoke Bloodline Rules going forward, right?
Yeah.
But I do think whatever the next Bloodline Rules match is, it's going to go in favor of the Bloodline because you're not going to have them lose 3 Bloodline Rule matches in a row.
Like to hope, yeah. I would like to hope, depending on the situation. Yeah. But, I'm all for it. It's a specific thing for them that they can say, like, hey, this is, we're going to say Bloodline Rules, anything goes, it's on our side. But if you're going to continue to make that a stipulation in your group, you're going to have to start winning some matches with that stipulation. You can't be running around and being like 0-2. Like, yeah, you better watch out. That stipulation's coming. Like, all right, dude, you're 0-2.
Yeah, that
come on, buddy.
That to me just screams The Rock versus Cody Rhodes is going to be Bloodline Rules, and The Rock is going to beat Cody Rhodes for the belt. Like that's how I see it in my head at the very least. And then you get Roman beating The Rock for the belt, and then The Rock is retired. He's done.
Yeah.
In whatever span of time that is, I don't know. It could very well be next year's SummerSlam main event because I don't know if The Rock is going to be wrestling the next 2 WrestleManias. It just seems not logical. I don't know.
Yeah.
But overall, I thought the Cody and Solo match was pretty good. It was really slow early on. It
took a little bit to get into it, but yeah. And I think we said the same thing about all the matches, that they told more of the stories of the matches and not really had a lot of like big moments of like, oh, you had to go back to see this spot or that spot. They had little moments of good things in the matches, but I feel SummerSlam was great. We're not trying to say that SummerSlam sucked. I thought it was a really good show, but as far as like wrestling, it was good. There wasn't anything like, oh my God, you gotta go back to see this match because there were so many like good spots and this happened and that happened. It's more the fact that, hey, you want to see us because he won, or this situation happened.
Well,
not necessarily like, you got to go back to see this movie.
Yeah, I think the wrestling is somewhere between a C plus and a B minus, but the storytelling, they aced it. Like pretty
Yes.
much across the board, right?
Yeah.
Everything panned out and made sense as to, okay, are these feuds continuing? And by the looks of it, Liv and Rhea is going to continue. Braun Breaker and
Yes.
Sammy were getting the rematch. LA Knight and Logan Paul, I foresee a rematch at some point.
Right.
Nia Jax and Bailey, don't care because not like
Right. You could get a rematch, but whatever.
well, it's like Sammy and Braun. Like Braun Breaker's not losing to Sammy again. Okay.
Yeah. Yeah. Braun will definitely win no matter what.
And then Drew CM Punk, Seth Rollins, obviously all of that is moving forward, even though Seth Rollins is going to be working with Braun Breaker, or Bronson Reed, my bad. Gunther and Damian Priest, obviously we're getting Gunther and Randy, and Damian Priest is dealing with Finn Balor.
With Finn Balor. So they're pretty much
Co-
done.
Cody and Solo, we don't need to see that match again, but we know Cody said in the press conference that Roman Reigns deserves a rematch. So that is happening. But I don't know.
You don't know when.
I don't know if they do it soon and then they just have the bloodline screw it up and then it just doesn't matter.
Right.
But yeah, everything just really is setting up and painting the picture for the next 3 to 4 months going into the fall.
Yeah. And I think that's good because, we usually don't have a lot of good storylines and good things to really go off of in the fall. And they're setting up pretty well for it. At least, with Bad Blood coming up, you have War Games, Survivor Series. There's a lot of good things that can hopefully come out of these. And again, I'm looking forward to it. We're still in a wrestling boom and, I'm here for it.
Yeah,
man.
it's great. Any big takeaways from Raw other than what we talked about with Gunther and Randy Orton? Obviously, Braun Breaker cut a promo. Sammy's getting his rematch. Some stuff with Sammy and Jey Uso backstage. They're talking about chasing the tag titles again.
Yeah.
Again, they've never chased the tag titles together. I don't think.
I think they did, but they never won it.
It was Jey Uso and Cody Rhodes that had the tag belts for like 2 weeks, right?
Yeah. The only other thing I would say out of Raw was the main event.
Yeah,
with,
the Wyatt Six. Yeah, and match was a little sloppy.
Match was definitely sloppy. I was telling you that, the first couple minutes when they were all just battling it up, I'm like, all right, this is a little sloppy. They need to kind of regain, the thing of just, everybody getting organized with the match. I wasn't really a fan of them just all going, haywire with it right off the bat.
I will say this. Dexter Lumis is playing the Wyatt Six part, and Joe Gacy, dude, when he went upside down in the turnbuckle and paid the homage to Bray, I was just like, oh,
that was good.
Yes. Oh, yes.
I think they're both, we know Eric Rowan, he's been a part of this thing, so he's going to play his part. But I think Joe Gacy with his, backstory of him kind of already having like a psychotic type of, backstory with him, and then Dexter Lumis having his, type of psychotic attitude. I think they picked the right people for it.
Yeah.
And I think they're only going to continue to get better. I liked Joe Gacy in the match. I thought he was moving really well in the match. That was the first time I've actually seen him in a match, and I'm like, okay, this guy. I mean, I'm not sure how long he's been in NXT, but I thought he was really good. I mean, we've seen Dexter Lumis fight a lot, so I kind of knew what to expect. But it seemed like they're all still trying to figure out themselves in the match, though.
Well,
like with a lot of their moves and kind of figuring out, to the workaround.
They're going to watch the tapes back and study, like, okay, what makes sense as far as like the storytelling throughout the matches versus like, okay, we're just wrestling a match right now, you know.
Yeah,
So I think we'll get more of that. I really liked Bo, Uncle Howdy, just sitting in the chair like Bray used to.
it was
Bray,
great. I love the first camera shot of them, looking at the chair and the light, awesome.
yeah,
And then everybody coming out. Uncle Howdy sitting in the chair, and Sister Abigail, Nikki Cross sitting right in front of him, and she'll eventually get her in-ring debut at some point too. I feel, but I think the fact that Rowan, uh, Gacy, and Loomis just doing the three-way tag right now is enough.
enough. Yeah,
Because again, I don't want to see them going after any titles, no tag titles, no singles. Just they need to go up and win matches, and within their feuds, because obviously it looks like they're still continuing this Chad Gable thing, and
it makes the most sense,
uh,
honestly. Like, why?
so
Why?
I think they'll definitely have this going for another another pay-per-view or two, and then they'll move on to their next feud.
Yep, yep. And I realistically, it's Chad is frustrated and he just wants Uncle Howdy, and then we get the Chad versus Uncle Howdy 1-on-1, and
Yeah,
that makes the most sense.
that'll be the cream de la creme.
Yeah. I will say, Chad introducing him into Creed Brothers as American Made. I'm like, okay,
Mm-hmm.
this is American Alpha, which is Kurt Angle and shoot, was it Kurt Angle and Jason Jordan and Chad Gable
Yeah.
or
Okay.
Yeah. Or no, it was Kurt Angle and then Shelton Benjamin.
That's right.
And I can't remember who was.
I forget the other person.
Me too. And I'll look it up after.
But yeah, I like the name.
Yeah, and they're giving Chad the "You Suck" chance, which was Kurt Angle's thing, right?
It was perfect. Yeah,
so good, so good.
But all in all, I liked their debut. It wasn't anything spectacular, but they did pay homage. They did all the things right. I loved how Eric Rowan did the whole yeah thing for Brody during the match. That was cool. So they hit all their points they were supposed to. So I think they did everything right. I'm still hype about the Wyatt Six. Nonetheless, I think they still have a good amount of stuff to show, and we got a Joe Gacy promo earlier before the match started, so
And
that was cool.
Again, it was enough. It wasn't anything.
Yeah, because you had Uncle Howdy and Rowan having the bigger, longer promos because they had the most connection to Bray. Yep. So I'm okay with that. So all the other three, they didn't really have much of a connection with Bray or this thing. So just having them not really say much and just having Uncle Howdy narrate it.
Yep.
And being done within a minute, good. I think they did that swell.
We didn't get anything for Dexter Lumis yet, right? Unless if
we did.
Okay, then
that was last week.
That's right. Okay, so then all
the little vignettes
they're
are done.
Okay. Or if they like the individual vignettes are wrapped up.
Individual vignettes are done.
Okay.
Yeah.
Cool. I'm excited. They have a really good landscape painted for the fall. And again, with football starting, Triple H is like, yeah, no, I'm not going to do what Vince did and just say, oh, well, football, and we're going to lose ratings. Like, he is still cranking out good writing for Raw. Like, I thought Raw this week overall was great. So,
yeah, definitely. I think they did a good job of knowing where the feuds are going, and if the feuds were continuing, how they were going to continue, and where they were taking them, and any new feuds like the New Day, and they got a new guy, something Jones. He was a madhouse. He took both Tokar and
Razor. Yep.
Yeah, and just dropped them.
That's
I was like, holy
yeah,
shit.
that's Odyssey Jones. I did see the
Odyssey Jones,
I did
right.
see the clip of
I
him.
didn't want to mess
I
it up.
did see the pic of him picking the both of them up and just
Yeah.
sidewalk slam dropping them. I was like, okay, everybody, this
Yeah.
guy's
So I'm okay. But you can see Xavier Woods isn't too happy with it. So obviously we're going to be getting some type of thing between Xavier Woods and Kofi eventually. Because with the Final Testament, that's what they were trying to get out of Kofi and Kingston to kind of break them
yep.
apart. So I think eventually they're going to break apart because it looks like Big E is not coming back. I have a feeling he's not.
Yeah.
I think he's trying so hard, but I think with them bringing Odyssey Jones in, obviously means Big E's not coming back anytime
Yeah,
soon.
the only thing I can think of with that is like um when Daniel Bryan was part of the Wyatts, like the Wyatt family, and then he
Yeah.
broke away from them. They could do the same thing with Xavier Woods coming into the Final Testament, and then Big E does come back, and then Xavier Woods just breaks away from Final Testament, and then we get the New Day reunion that we've all been waiting for. That's
Yeah.
obviously wishful thinking, but yeah, I think if Big E was coming back, we would like really know by now. Like there
Right.
would be signs of him actively trying to get back into it. I just feel like he's been out of it as long as he has, and he's like pretty okay with doing the pre-show for the PLEs, right?
Yeah.
Which is fine. Like I love to still see him on TV. Love to see him talking wrestling at the very least.
Absolutely.
But yeah, Anth,
We'll see.
anything else wrestling wise before we wrap up this one?
Nah, I think we're good. It was a good pay-per-view SummerSlam, and it looks like this might be the last one night SummerSlam. It looks like they're going to be, from what I heard, it looks like they're going to start moving SummerSlam into 2 nights, just like WrestleMania. Which, I mean, I don't think they need to, but again, a business is business. If they're going to make more money out of SummerSlam by making it 2 nights, whatever.
Why not?
It's just because I think Miz was even saying the fact that it's so hard to get on PLEs because there's so much of the roster now.
Mhm.
So in those bigger PLEs, if you're going to do 2 nights, that leaves more room for your bigger roster. So it makes more matches, more people get on the PLEs, and they're more and all your rosters, more happier.
Yeah,
So,
load those cards up, man, for sure.
Yeah, if you can do it, and you're going to get people out, do it.
Yeah,
So.
I know that they announced Minneapolis 2 nights of SummerSlam for 2026. So we
maybe next year might be the last one that's one night.
Yeah,
unless this year was the last one. We'll see.
They might pull the trigger next year, and I wouldn't be mad about it. We'll see what happens.
Yeah, man. Thank you guys for tuning in. Again, this is part 1 of our 2-part series. This was our SummerSlam reaction. Stick around. We're going to be doing a House of the Dragon recap of season 2. So for all our House of Dragon, Game of Thrones fans, if you're watching this, check our YouTube. It might already be out if you're watching this later in the day. And if you're watching this in the morning, watch your notifications. It'll be coming out in the early afternoon. So thank you all for tuning in. If you're here for the first time, again, my name is Anthony Irvin. My boy Jim Green here. We're here every Friday with new content for you guys. This has been One Set. We'll see you on the next one, guys.
All the love, everybody. Peace.